What's up, guys? Welcome back to another showcase episode of Empyrion. Now, this is a Robotech edition of Empyrion Workshop Reviews, or Empyrion, what did I call this? I guess I just call it Workshop, Workshop Showcase. Anyway, so I've got several ships here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any bases or hover vessels. I might have to fix that, but I did find a few ships, as long as a couple of my own creations. So, first off, I want to show you guys is, in this video, I have 3 capital ships, actually. I've got a Horizon T assault dropship. I've got a Garfish class light cruiser, and the SDF-1 from Macross/Robotech. For the small vessels, I found a version of the YFA Alpha Fighter from Genesis Climber Massapedia, I think that's how you pronounce it, and a small vessel version of the Horizon T. In fact, the small vessel here is actually what I based my version of the Horizon T off of. So, these two are kind of like cousins, so to speak. Anyway, so let's get on with this. First off, let's start with the Alpha Fighter. So this is a very cool little ship. It originally showed up in, like I said, Genesis Climber Massapedia, but it also showed up in Robotech the New Generation. The ship itself in space flies extremely fast. It's a little bit slower in atmosphere, but it is fairly fast, and you'll be able to get anywhere you need to be relatively quickly. The biggest problem, though, is that it's not very reactive on the turning on the nose, so have fun with that, because it turns like an old grandma, honestly. Anyway, it does have quite a few weapons. It's got rocket launchers, got plasma, and I believe that is pulse lasers and plasma, or is that? I'll have to look, but it does sport some pretty good weapons. Rocket launcher homing, and pulse lasers. So it does sport some very good weapons. It does have a cargo box and 4 ammo boxes. It does have a fridge, and it's got looks like 16 thrusters. It's got 4 RCSs, which I don't understand why. With that many RCSs, it should be able to turn a lot better, but it just doesn't. So I don't know why. But it's still a good ship. It is fairly expensive to make. I'd say this is probably a mid-level ship. It does unlock. It says it unlocks at level 20, so it will be a while before you are able to use it. But it's not too bad. It does have 2 generators, 5 oxygen tanks, and a oxygen tank station. And let's see here, what else? Yeah, so it's definitely a good ship. It does not have any warp drive. There are some small vessels that can sport a warp drive on it, but this isn't one of them. Like I said, it is fairly expensive. 344 Aerostrom ingots and 344 zirconium. Sathium is also fairly high at 200. Other than that, it's a very nice ship, and if you are a Robotech fan like I am, it would definitely be something to look into. Like I said, my only big problem with it is that it is extremely slow on the turn. So I don't know if that's an RCS problem, like it needs more RCS units, or if that's a thruster issue. I'm not sure, but it does fly around fairly nice. The only thing that I'm kind of bummed out is that it can't transform, but unfortunately Empyrion won't allow that. So anyway, so we'll turn this off and get out, and we'll go on to the Horizon T small vessel. Now this ship is pretty interesting. It has 2 pods that you can use for passengers. So let's see here. So, and it also has its own O2 station constructor, and I believe it has it in each one of these in each pod. So just to be sure, yeah, it does. So no matter which pod you're in, you can still use constructor, oxygen tank, and all that stuff. So that's really cool. The ship itself the rest of the body does not have any like space. Those are the only two spaces that you can actually go into. The ship looks fairly cool. Like, it's not like the cockpit makes you feel like you're actually in a ship. I'll say that. Like, this is kind of how the actual cockpit for the capital vessel looked like in the anime, kind of. Although that one has 3 crew members in it as well. Like the YFA, it does not turn very fast. It's very slow, actually, on the turn. And like my biggest thing with this one, though, is the third person kind of sucks. But like I said, that's more of a developer, so we're going to have to fix that kind of thing more than is the author. There are ways around it, but it's very hard to fix something like that in a small vessel. It doesn't have any weapons, but it does have space to add them in. This one is fairly inexpensive to make, with using only the most expensive being iron and some plastic raw material, which is somewhat easy to obtain. It does have, see here, 12, 22, 25, 29, so 29 thrusters and 5 RCS units. I would probably add a few more RCSs just to see if that would fix the turning issue. It does have 2 oxygen tanks and 2 stations, but it doesn't have any medic stations or anything like that. It does have two generators. So overall, this is a very nice little ship. It's definitely something that I would definitely recommend using. I believe its unlock is fairly okay. Unlock level is 10, so it's a very classy looking ship, and you can unlock it fairly early. So I mean, it's just a really pretty ship, really is. And when I saw this and installed it, that's when I decided to make my version as a capital vessel. Honestly, because I just loved the way how this looked, and I really wanted it as a capital vessel. Alright, so next we're going to start with the SDF-1. Now, this is a really cool ship. It really is. I do have some issues with it, though, and I'll get to that in a second. So, power on. Can't tell, hardly. Yeah, okay, it is. So, first things first. Okay, I need to go down. Okay. First things first, it is very, very big. You know, I mean, this is a Class 19 vessel, so you won't be able to spawn this in into a multiplayer server unless there is no class restrictions or size restrictions on the ships. So, you know, which that can actually be kind of difficult. The next thing is, see here, you have the main bridge up top here. This is like the crow's nest, so to speak. This is actually not the bridge used in the anime. The anime bridge for Macross and for Robotech has it in a separate section, in a similar area, but it's a separate section. So it's kind of, you know, it's not really the same, you know, but, you know, none of these builds are really going to be the same if you think about it. I mean, it's all going to be different just because you can't really translate something from a show into a game that easily. There are a few that come fairly close. There's a few Star Trek ships I've downloaded that are really good. What? Stupid mouse. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, this isn't one of them. Next up, if you go up even further, you know, you got your overlook of the entire thing. This is the captain's quarters, which is pretty nice to have your own room. You can even go up even further, and this, I believe, yeah, this takes you out to the outside of the ship. Now we're going to get into the parts where I start having problems. As big as this ship is, it's fairly empty. Almost all of your main equipment is up top. Fuel tanks here, you got your gravity generator, all that stuff. This is kind of the biggest thing. Now, it's not that bad. You can, because of the size of the ship, you can turn the interior into as much of it like the original SDF-1 as you want. But, you know, I feel like with as much work that's been put into the ship on the outside, I kind of wish there was more interior. As you can see, he's got a ton of first tier RCS units, which isn't bad, especially when there's this many of them. You got your different generators and thrusters. There's another gravity generator, and what are those? Those look like thrusters. Are those thrusters? Yeah, so those are thrusters. You know, there's your warp drive, so it can jump. This is kind of this does kind of remind me of an engineering system, but like I said, I just feel like there should be more, more to it. It's a really nice ship, it really is, and I really like how much it looks like the SDF-1. And this isn't even full size. The SDF-1's even bigger. So, do I have power on? So another big thing I've found is that you can't move this ship. This is pretty much just a you can barely move it a little bit, but it's just so big that you can't really control it. In fact, I think that there's something not hooked up right, because frankly, the thrusters aren't firing, things like that. So that could actually these should all be firing, and they're not. So I would say that it's not really the creator's fault as much as it is, I believe, that it's just bugged. But it could be that this is Alpha 8 and it's still experimental, so it could be that it could just be that this is a build, or this is a ship that was built in a different build, so it could be just that. Although I kind of doubt that, because I have I've downloaded so many ships using Alpha 8 and they work just fine. So I'm not sure. None of the thrusters are firing at all, so I don't understand. I don't know what's going on with that. What you could do is just go and test, just test it out, see whether or not there's a, if you replace the thrusters, if they'll be alright, but it's no big deal. So it does have a lot of space that you can actually put your own bays in. You can carry a ton of ships if you want to take that route, which is something that I would suggest doing for that kind of ship. It's a really good rendition. It's extremely big. It's way bigger than than Empyrion allows you to use on a multiplayer server, but that's okay. There's always people that are going to get around that somehow. They'll change it in their rules or whatever. The ship itself actually has fairly decent weapons, so if you can spawn it, it would definitely be good for PvP for a couple of reasons. It's got 14 artillery cannons, so it's gonna mutilate anything that decides that it's got a chance. It will tear through armor pretty fast. My only thing is, though, is that you don't have any kind of pulse lasers, you don't have any Gatling guns, anything like that, which isn't really that big a deal unless you're like. But if in some of these multiplayer servers, it's like fleet battles. And if you have only artillery cannons and you have a bunch of people using small vessels, good luck hitting them. It's going to be very hard. So that's my biggest thing. But it is a very nice ship. It does seem like it doesn't work real well. I think it almost has to do with the thrusters. I think that there's just not, I think there's something wrong with them. It is very expensive to build, with over 20,000 neodymium ingots needed. That is a lot, and not to mention sathium ingots at 8,200. That is a lot of materials. This is something that you'd have to build in, and the production time itself is enormous. And this is a ship that's really not even complete. So if you were to complete it, holy crap, that's going to be a lot of stuff after you put constructors and a sick bay and more weapons and things like that. It's going to be very expensive to build. So, but overall, it looks great. It's a very, very good build. It has its problems, but then again, so does everything else, and I'll get into that in a second with some of my ships. Other than that, other than what I've said, it's a very nice build. It looks identical to the SDF-1, and you know it's really is a very cool ship design. All right, so next up we have the Horizon T assault dropship capital vessel. This is one that I built myself. I did this within a day, and I saw this when I saw the small vessel version. I figured, you know, I just had to build a capital ship version. So here's the main bridge. You've got 3 seats. You got the cockpit seat, and then you got the 2 passenger seats. It's set up somewhat similar to how it is in the anime. It shows at least 3 people, the captain and 2 others, on the ship. There may have been a 4th one. I don't exactly remember. But this is set up pretty much how it is. You have the 2 screens on the sides and the consoles that everyone else was sitting at. The captain was in the middle. So in here, honestly, with this ship, I figured, you know, this isn't going to be you know, I wouldn't really want to use this in a combat scenario. This is literally more of literally what it is, a dropship. I do have an assault version, which changes a lot of the, it changes the bay here into a weapons bay. But in here we've got the fuel tanks, some thrusters, we got gravity generator, ammo boxes. It does have cargo boxes up top, O2. And then on the other side, you know, you have all your main engineer stuff in the back here, where it's more protected. And the other side, same thing. It's almost set up exactly the same. It has 1 less fuel tank, but you can easily fill this up with cargo boxes, and it definitely would make for a good ship. So if you look at the ship, it's fairly expensive. You know, it does, but it's not nearly as expensive as some of the other ships I've shown. The most expensive item being the iron ingots, or not the iron, the sathium ingots needed for the RCSs. I used I did use the what are they called, the tier 2 ingots. It does output a lot of power. It has 4 generators, 3 oxygen tanks, a ventilator, and oxygen station. It does have a medic station. You guys saw that. And it has 5 pulse laser turrets. I use those. I put those on there because the wiki, when I built this, said it does have defenses, but it didn't really say what a specific type were. So I figured they probably use some kind of, you know, point defense. So, and in in Robotech they use a lot of lasers and stuff for point defense. So that's what I used for this. So if you get into it, it does fly around fairly well. It's very reactive. Ooh, I hit the Alpha Fighter. Anyway, you know, it does fly around really well. Like I said, I put a lot of RCS units in there just to make sure of that. And so I really think it's a really cool ship. You know, I guess I am a little bit biased, but I think, like, overall, I feel like this design of ship was really cool in Robotech. So, no, don't decompress. Don't decompress. Okay. So, you know, like I said, I think it's a really cool ship design, and I hope you guys really enjoy that. Next up, this is my second creation I ever made. This is a Garfish class light cruiser, also from Robotech, but it's also from the anime Genesis Climber Massapedia. Now, if you look at Robotech, it's literally 3 different anime series combined into one. You've got Robotech Macross Saga, which is the first Macross. Then it's combined with Super Dimensional Southern Cross, which is the 2nd season, which is also considered probably the worst of the 3. And then you have Genesis Climber Massapedia. And this ship features in Genesis Climber, and which is Robotech New Generation. So this ship is really, really cool. Like, I love the design of this ship from the anime. So I decided I was going to try to build it myself. And this is what I came up with. So you have your different rooms. You got fuel tanks in here, all your generators and RCS units. So this is what I call an auxiliary backup. I split the systems up into 3 different areas, really. I've got main engineering back here. This is where you have your warp core, all your big generators, fuel tanks, and your warp drive. So this is the main deal. Over here is auxiliary systems 1. So this one's fairly empty. I was going to put some RCS units in here, but I decided against it. There's also, if you go up the elevator, or if you go through here, I mean, you have crew quarters and mess hall. There's nothing real special about that, but, you know, you got plenty of food processors and fridges in here for whatever you need. Next up, if you go up, you've got environmental control. Here's all the O2 stations you could want. If you keep going further, you've got a small sick bay here, and you've got a armory right here. So all your ammo boxes are in here, and you've got your armor lockers. Back here, you've got R&D. So here's all your constructors and your cargo boxes. And go all the way back over here. I probably should have showed up here first. You have your main RCS control 1 and 2. And this is why that's really what makes this ship so agile, and I'll show you in a second. And then you've got engineering analysis here, and for those who are fans of the Robotech show, the fold system analysis here. So this is for like making sure that the fold system's fully operational and no one else, you know, nothing's wrong with it. If you go back out here, here's upper engineering. This is mostly a catwalk area. I just thought it'd be really cool to show like a catwalk system for an engine room, and it's something that they show a lot of times in like Star Trek, things like that. So I kind of wanted to bring it to this. So if we go back to the front, I probably should have started with this, honestly. You've got, see here. All right, let's go all the way up to the top first. So all the way at the top, here's your main bridge, and this was a design flaw in my opinion to the for the Garfish class. In the show, the bridge was on top of the ship in this yellow bubble. I feel like that was the worst mistake on the planet, honestly, because you see this big old yellow bubble and you're thinking, huh, there's a big old target. Anyway, but I put it on there just for you know, continuity's sake. Up here I have, you know, here's your main seat, all the different consoles and stuff to kind of give it a bridge feel. I didn't put any passenger seats here, but I did put them in a few in the back, and I'll show you in a second. So that's the main bridge. So here is my answer to the main bridge faults. Here is what I call a battle bridge. You got another, you know, pilot seat. You got a couple passenger seats for your friends or whatever, and you know, you're able to control the ship pretty well from here. This ship has, see here, it looks like 125. It's got a ton of thrusters, we'll just put it that way, and 81 RCS units. I wanted this ship to be very, very, you know, agile. And the reason being is that if you look at the wiki for this class, it doesn't have a lot of weaponry, despite being a light cruiser. It's got 6 rocket launchers, 3 pulse lasers, forward-facing pulse lasers, and pulse laser turrets. So 6 of those. Like I said, I wanted to stick to the continuity's sake, so I just left it the same as what the wiki said this thing had. I still feel like it's underpowered. You can add more turrets if you want, but I'm not going to, because I just feel like, you know, I just want this to be somewhat similar to continuity. It does, anyway, has 8 cargo boxes, 7 ammo boxes, 5 fridges, 5 food processors, 2 constructors. You know, it has all the weapons. It's got 8 ventilators, 20 tanks, 4 stations, and a medic station, and it's got 6 generators. It is a very expensive ship. Can't speak. It's a very expensive ship to build. This took me 3 or 4 days to build completely, and even then, I still tweak it every now and then. You know, it's a very big ship, but I really do feel like it turned out really nice, and like I said, it turns on a dime. Oh, stupid Alpha Fighter is in the way. But this is a very nice ship. You know, I feel like it's a very good ship. You know, this, like I said, I'm a little biased. Frankly, I really am, just because this is one of the first creations I put onto the workshop. So, of course, I'm going to be a little biased about it. But I do feel like you could use this in a battle. It can take care of itself. And I really think it's a cool rendition of the Garfish class from Robotech. Anyway, guys, so that's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, I'm not doing any more combat tests. And just the reason being is this episode's already almost half an hour long, and I just don't want people getting bored. I just feel like it's just, you know, I just feel like doing combat tests would really just kind of be over the top, honestly. Anyway, there's the forward-facing pulse lasers. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this Robotech special. I hope enough of y'all enjoy these creations, and I hope you guys will, you know, express your gratitude to the makers of the 3 ships that aren't mine, because they did a really good job. You know, each one has their own problems, but that's no big deal. Everything has their problems. And like I said, that one, I couldn't make it exactly this way I wanted to, and this one over here wouldn't stand a chance against probably any of these ships, honestly. But just it's just a lot of fun to build, and it's just really fun to see what other people do. So be sure to go to these people's pages and download their stuff. They have some really cool stuff, and it's really cool to see what the community can put together. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next time.